Hi everybody, it's Christian from multitracks.com and I'm really excited to be able to bring and show you this new session view template. Will and I have been dreaming and throwing forward and back ideas for a while now, and finally we've arrived with something that we're really proud of and we're really excited to show you. This template does a huge number of things, and in this video I want to give you an overview of what it can do. I want to show you the two different Ableton files that you get when you purchase the template and why you get two. I want to show you some settings that you need to make to your computer to make sure that it works. And then I'm also going to show how you take a song from arrangement view and bring it all the way through to session view so you get all of the functionality that I'm about to show you now. Now, this template does not use any Max for Live devices, so it will work in Ableton Live Standard. It also doesn't use any of Ableton's inbuilt follow features as well, so there's not a lot of setting up that needs to be done every time you bring in a song. There's still some work, but not a huge amount. So let me show you straight away what it can do. Let's trigger off this song, No Other Name by Hillsongs.
1.
And you'll
two,
notice that it's all split down into individual scenes with a really nice sounding click.
4.
Now we're straight into intro. Now I don't know if you noticed, but that jumped down automatically by itself without using any follow devices. I've not had to program in how many bars on each individual clip. It's just doing it based on some of the setup that we've done. Now of course I can jump around wherever I want to, so let's jump to chorus. On the next one, it's going to jump to the chorus. Let's go back to intro. So we've still got that ability to be able to map that way. But I'm just about to press, and I've just pressed a single button on my foot controller,
2.
and now what it's going to do is going to repeat that
2,
intro.
3, 4.
And the dynamic vocal cues followed the repeat of that intro as well. Now that's going to happen one more time because I've left that repeat function on.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, now I'm going to press that one single button again, and now I've released the repeat option, and now it's going to move on to the verse, and the vocal cue is going to say verse.
Verse.
And there we are into it. So that's previously something that's been reserved for Max for Live users, or people that have had to do an awful lot of programming, or you've had to press the foot controller in the last measure. We can press this anytime in that section, and at the end of the section it's going to move where we tell it to with dynamic vocal cues. So that's great. What we also included in this template is all of the MIDI routing to do that, all of the various controls that are needed, but also this very nice click instrument rack chord foundation. So as you can see, some of you will be aware of this already, but if I just open up this click here, down the bottom I've got this instrument that I can change. I can change the volume of the accent, the fourths, I can increase the eighths, I can put some sixteenths in there, I can change the click volume but also the click type as well. So again, we've got brilliant ability to customize exactly what it is we want to hear through the click and how that works. Okay, let me show you what happens when you've purchased this template. It comes with two Ableton sessions. The first one is called the Builder. So let me just open up the Builder for you. Now, the Builder template is a template that houses all of the MIDI controls and all of the MIDI controls and MIDI clips that you're going to need to make this work. Now, if you're not an advanced Ableton user and programmer, you'll probably never have to open this template. But this is where you would if you wanted to add things. But you will be drawing from this template a lot. Now, in here we've got all of the click controls for all of the different time signatures, with accents, without accents, and also with count-ins and without count-ins. We've got a whole bunch of MIDI clips which are set to control Ableton, things like stop, things like pause and go to next, things like follow, turn in, Ableton's click on and off if you want to use Ableton's click, repeat next, slow down, speed up, change the quantization. So really in-depth kind of arrangement and programming. We've got some scene controls where we can move up and down a scene, and we can also jump to a specific scene number. And then we've got up to 32 bars of both repeat and next MIDI clips as well. Now, that doesn't make a lot of sense at the moment, but bear with me. I will show you how all of this works to give you the best session view template that you can end up with. Okay, it also comes with this live set. Now, The live set is an empty template for you to build a database of songs, and you'll have it looking a bit like that No Other Name in no time, and you'll keep adding a database of songs. Now, the advantage of using the template this way is that you can build up a database of all of your tracks, and you do the hard work of programming them once, and once they're in there forever, or at least until you delete them. But prior to every service or event that you are leading worship or playing music at, you simply have to remap your MIDI controller to the start of that song, and that's all you have to do. The songs are always there. You may even choose to have a bank of emergency songs that you can go to. But on your foot controller, or on your MIDI controller, or on your keyboard, you will have one single button that becomes your repeat button. And by pressing that one button, it will repeat the section that you are in, regardless of the song. It will repeat that section, and your vocal cues will follow you, assuming that you've set it up correctly. Okay, so let me show you what settings you need to change and how you get this template working correctly. Remember I said that it doesn't use any follow on devices or any follow settings within Ableton or any Max for Live devices. That's because we're using the IAC driver to do the hard work for us. So we need to make sure that that's turned on and set up. Now, in a MacBook, if you go up to Spotlight and type in Audio MIDI and jump to the Audio MIDI setup, then go to Window and show MIDI Studio, we can click into the IAC driver. What we need to do is make sure that the IAC driver is online and that we've got at least one bus port activated. If you're already using a bus port, then you'll probably know what the IAC driver is, so just add another bus port and we can change those settings in Ableton. Okay, great. Once you've done that, come back into Ableton Live, go up to Live Preferences, and come down to Link and MIDI and make sure that the IAC driver bus 1 is on for track and remote in the input and in the output section. Wonderful. The other thing that we need to do is go to Record, Warp and Launch, and we need to change 3 settings if they're not already. We need to make sure that Auto Warp Long Samples is off, Select on Launch is on, and Select Next Scene on Launch is also turned off. We need that in that configuration for this template to work correctly. Brilliant. Okay, great. Now we're nearly ready to go. The only other thing that we need to do is just make sure that the MIDI routing is correct. So inside the controls, and this is the fold out where we're going to drop in our function control, our scene control, our next and repeat. We need to make sure that these are going to the IAC driver bus 1 and channel 16 on the first 4. Now occasionally when you drop a MIDI clip in, it might go back to no MIDI, so this would just simply go to no output. If it does that, just make sure you take it back to IAC driver bus 1 and channel 16 because the template's already programmed to receive MIDI on those channels. Once you've done that, you can fold that back up and there's a Propresenter one. I have that going to a network. If you're using Propresenter, that can go to anywhere. And then there's one other thing you need to do. If you open up the cues and open up the controls again, you'll notice that the next and repeat and the guide and the repeat guides are turned on in pairs. And we need this to happen. We need 5 and 9, unless you add more columns, so the next and the guide to both be on at the same time. And then we need the repeat and the repeat to both be on or off at the same time. The last thing you need to do is hit the MIDI controller, so the Midi Mapping button, and map a MIDI controller button to the same button to 5, 6, 9 and 10. Or if you're not using a MIDI button and you're using a key button, you can see that I've done it here with the letter R, and it's effectively the same thing, so that when you hit that R or that MIDI button, 6 and 10 go on, and then 5 and 9 go off, and vice versa, so that we've got that ability to hit one button and we're changing both the repeat and the guides. Okay, great. Once we've done all of that, save that and your template is ready to go, and we are ready to start adding in our first song. So let me show you how to add a song. Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you how we can take a multi-track that we've downloaded from multitracks.com and make the adjustments that we need to get it into our session view template so it's ready to arrange on the fly and do all the kind of stuff that we want to do inside that new session view template that I've been showing you. So this is No Other Name by Hillsong off the No Other Name album. I've downloaded it in the key of G, And this is the file exactly as it opens when you first download it. So you're probably used to seeing this view. Now, there's a couple of things that I do ready for my template. So I'm going to talk you through the whole process and then show you how we take it back out of here and load it into the template. The first thing that I do is I work on duplicating the guide tracks. So you can see here we've got the guide track as normal. What I want to be able to do is have two sets of guide tracks so that when I arrange on the fly, the band always know where I'm going. So the way I do that is I start at each locator, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here so I can make sure that I'm clicking in the right place. There we go. Each locator, and I simply go down, and on each locator I'm going to press shortcut E, Apple E, and that's just going to slice that into sections. So let's just do that really quickly. Let's go down to the next one. There are a few quicker ways of doing this, but I'm just taking it nice and slow so that you don't miss anything that I'm doing here. So now we're going to have each cue track is going to be in individual parts, just chopped exactly as we need them. There we go, done. Cool. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the whole of that guide track, and I'm going to press shortcut, which is the command or the Apple key, and D. And what that does is it's duplicated these cue tracks twice. Now, all I'm simply going to do in here is drag the previous cue track forward one. So that cue track here said chorus, and now by dragging it through, it says chorus again. Now, if we just follow this simple way of doing it all the way down, and we drag each cue track forward, it means that whenever we want to repeat a section, we've got the right cue track that sits just before it. So it doesn't make a lot of sense at the moment, but let me just show you what happens once we drag that forward. Anything that's just too long like this, we simply just drag up to the size that we want. So there's always a cue track at the end of each section, and we know that the cue track at the end of that section is going to announce the section that we've just been in, which is exactly what we want to happen, obviously, if we're going to repeat. So the top line of cue tracks is going to be the cue tracks that move us forward in the arrangement, and the bottom set of cue tracks I'm going to leave. No, I'm not. I'm going to take that intro into there as well. The bottom set of cue tracks are going to be the ones that are going to be the repeats. Okay, great. So once I've done that, I will close up these two. Now, there's one other thing that you could do if you wanted to, and that would be to build your Propresenter controls. I do that at this stage, so I'm just going to input a new MIDI track. It's dropped it in here, which is fine, and I already have a folder of my Propresenter tracks done, which match the way that we do them. I'm just going to find the no other name MIDI, and I'm going to drag that in and let go. No. Perfect. So I now have all the MIDI notes that control all the slides for no other name the way that we do it. So that's perfect. Let me zip that up. Again, given more time, you could do exactly the same process with these Propresenter cues as I've just won the guide tracks. So you can cut them up and you can duplicate them. So exactly the same thing happens again. But to save time, because not everybody is automating Propresenter, I'm not going to show you that just now in this video. So the next thing that I do is I highlight each scene by using the master column down here. So if we just open up the master, and this is just the quickest way, just to select all of that section. Now, two ways you can do this now. You can either come up to here and go across to create and go consolidate time to new scene, or you can press the Apple command shortcut and this little sign here, which is next to the Z key on your keyboard. And if I press that, I'm going to start consolidating time to new scene. Now, I'm going to go along and do that for each section. And I'm just going to pause the video a moment whilst I do that. But the process is I'm just going to go along to each individual section. I'm going to highlight it, and then I'm going to press that shortcut. So I'll see you on the other side of this. Okay, great. So from opening the arrangement and talking to you, so far that's taken 5 minutes, and the song is now in the format that we need. So one of the questions is, doesn't it take really long to change the song? Well, I've just shown how we can do it in 5 minutes, and I've taken a little bit of time to explain stuff to you, and there's some shortcuts. So the song is now all sliced up. It's ready to go. Let's flip over to the other view in session view, and you can see that this song is now broken down into all the sections that we need. And I'm going to make just a couple last changes. I'm going to drag the MIDI column over to the beginning. And the reason for that is then I can select all of the audio. And I'm going to turn off loop. So when it hits in my other template, that's not going to be looping around. I'm now ready to go. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to press File. And I'm going to press Save Live Set. And I'm going to make sure that I save them back. Okay, great. I'm now going to load up the other template. I'm going to talk you through how to load this song into that template. See you on the other side. Okay, so here we are back inside the live set template, ready to build our first ever song into our master template. And it really is very simple. A couple of things we need to remember. We have put all of our columns and grouped them together to make it easier to see. And we've put them again into percussion, synth, bass, guitars, keys, and vocals. We can have as many columns as you want. And again, inside each of these, you can add. So if you needed 6 keys parts, click on the last one, right click, insert audio track, rename that key 6, and you are good to add in another track. I'm just going to delete that one for now because we don't actually need it. I've got just the number of tracks that I need for no other name, just for this demonstration. Then I'm going to come over to the master column. I'm going to leave one blank space, and in this next one I'm going to rename it no other name in the key of G, 74 beats per minute, and a 4/4 time signature. Now we're ready to start importing that first song. Okay, so let me show you how we're going to do this. We're going to navigate to the folder on my desktop where this song was saved, and we're going to open it. Now inside the multi-track folder, you'll see that there's an Ableton session called ALS. Now if we double click that, it would load back to the session we're working in. We don't want to do that. We want to click the drop down box, and you'll see in the drop down box we've got the song in loads of different sections as per the hard work we just did. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up the Q track, and we're going to drag the first guide track onto the first guide column. Get the top scene on that first line and let go, and it's going to add the other ones down. We'll tidy this up in a moment. Then we're going to grab the repeat guides, and we're going to drag them into there. We are going to go to, and that always starts one down because we didn't have one at the start or the end. Then we're going to go over and open up percussion, and we're just going to do the same with every instrument. We're going to drag in the drums. We've got the drums on the top line. We're going to drag in the percussion and drop that on the top line. I've added glockenspiel into my percussion set, but you might want it somewhere else in keys or wherever you like. We're going to drag in synth bass. I put my bass guitar in with the other guitars. So let's drag in bass. Oh, no, I dropped that too low, so I'm going to move them all up one. There we go. I'm going to drag in acoustic guitar. And again, I'm going to pause this video just for 2 seconds while I drag in the rest of the instruments, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so I've loaded in all of the scenes and all of the tracks that I need, including the Propresenter controls, which remember we're not going to cover in depth on this video. We'll do it on another one. I have made the top master scene here red, and all the others are white. And I've also renamed them, the parts of the song and the number of bars that they are. That's going to be really useful. So the next thing we need to do is bring in a click track. We're using the Foundations click. So if we navigate to our builder template, click the drop down and click the click drop down and drag in. We want 4/4, and I'm just going to have the standard 4/4 one here. I don't want to count in because that's on the Q track. Drop that on the top, and then I'm going to highlight all the other ones, and I'm going to press Apple or shortcut E, and I'm going to take away all the stop buttons. So that click is just one click and it continues all the way through the track. It's just the way I like to do it. And then we're going to go over to the controls. Now, if we play any of these scenes at the moment, they're just going to play that one section, but they're not going to repeat or move forward. They're just going to stop. So what we need to do is we need to tell Ableton how many bars it is to repeat, and that's why we labeled everything 4 bars, 16 bars. So we're going to open up the next drop down. Again, this is inside the builder template, and we're simply going to drag in the number of bars that we need for each section. So it starts with a 2-bar intro. So we're going to drag in 2 bars. Then we've got a 2-bar counting, then a 4-bar intro. We're going to drag that in. Then we're going to drag in a 16-bar next, into next, and we're going to duplicate that wherever there's a 16 bars. So there's another one there. All the rest are 8 bars, so we're going to drag in an 8 bar next. And again, I'm just going to use the shortcuts to copy and paste that into all the other little scenes here. Apart from the last one, which is a 14 bar next. We're going to put that in there. Great. We're going to zip up next and open up repeat and do exactly the same thing. So we want a 2 bar repeat, then a 4 bar repeat, and hopefully you get the idea of what's happening now. A 16 bar repeat. We're going to duplicate the 16 bar repeat wherever we saw a 16 bar next, or a 16 bar over here. And then we want an 8 bar repeat. And we're going to put the 8 bar repeat in as well. And finally a 14 bar repeat. Wonderful. So the song is now done. We have now got everything. Don't forget, we've got some function controls and scene controls that we can drag in if we wanted to do any of these in terms of speed up, slow down, next, repeats, locators, changing the quantization. So if you've got any really detailed arrangements, you've got all of those. But for a standard song done the standard way, this is perfect. We want to make sure that these MIDI outputs are onto the IAC driver. Sometimes when you drag in the MIDI clips, it tends to jump back to no output, so make sure that they are on back to the bus 1 and on channel 16. Then we can zip these up. We can click collect all and save to bring everything into the template, which saves on a bit of processing and CPU usage. And now when we click no other name,
1, 2, 1, 2, 3,
you can see
4.
that at the end of those 2 bars, it moved down perfectly to the next scene. And at the end of these 4 bars, it would move down again to the next scene absolutely perfectly. So let's just wait for that.
Verse.
Perfect. So now this song is set up, we've got the ability to press the first scene on the master side over here, and the song will move down through the arrangement as we'd expect. But what about arranging on the fly or repeating the section that we're in? That's where Ableton really comes into its own. Now, this template gives you some really deep functionality using some of those controls that I showed you earlier, or 2 very simple ways of doing it. We can map a MIDI button on any MIDI controller or a keyboard, or even one of the numbers or letters on the Apple keyboard to any of these scenes here, so we can jump from verse to chorus as per most people would be familiar with in Ableton. But what this template really gives us, and what we wanted to design, is one single button on a foot controller or on a keyboard that will always be the repeat, and that button will repeat the section you are in whenever you press it, as well as the vocal cues dynamically following what you've just told it to do. But we also wanted to give you the ability to press that button anywhere in that section and not just in the last measure. So let me show you how that works. You'll remember when we set this up that we mapped one MIDI button to the next repeat, to the guide and the repeat guide. And to do that, we simply click MIDI and then we map that MIDI button to each of those. Now, I'm not using a MIDI controller right now. I'm using the keyboard, so I'm using the letter R. So the letter R is mapped exactly the same way to those 4 buttons. And we've turned off them in pairs. So we've turned off the repeat and we've turned off the repeat guide. So now when I press that button, it could be MIDI or R, you can see that they're flipping around between the 2. Okay, so let me zip back up. This one, I'm going to leave these open. So we're looking between 9 and 10. So this is in the follow mode. It's going to move on. And if I press no other name,
1,
it's going to do the intro.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And it jumps straight down. Now, anywhere in this measure I can decide, so anywhere in this scene I can decide that I want to repeat the intro. I've pressed that button.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And it's going to repeat the intro really nicely. So now we're in the intro, we're playing loads of different scenes all at the same time, and it's moving quite nicely.
1, 2,
back again,
3,
Propresenter's
4.
following us because it's staying within Propresenter if we've set that up, and we could loop here forever. Now when I press the repeat button, and I've just pressed it, you'll see that 9 is activated, 10 isn't,
Verse.
and now we're going to move on to the verse. And again, we could do this on any scene in any song. Once we've got the song set up, make sure you click collect all and save. That will bring the song into this template, and then you can take the original one that we edited, that you downloaded, and put it on an external hard drive or somewhere else on your computer, or if you use the Multitracks cloud, you can just delete it, so you can always download it from there, which however you want to manage your files. And then we just leave a single line, and we'll put the next song that we're doing there, and start building up our database. The other little things I do is sometimes I take an ambient drone and I'll drag that always at the end of the track, so that when we get to the end of the very last scene, it will move on, the click will stop, and an ambient drone will come in, so I've got a bit of freedom to move around and do whatever I want to do before loading the next set. Hopefully you can see the power of this template and just how good it is for being able to arrange on the fly, have one single button control, and have this as the new master template. The beautiful thing about this approach is we build up one huge database of all of our songs, and then we're just simply remapping the MIDI controller to the start of that song before the service, and the repeat will always repeat the section we're in, the vocal cues will always follow, and things like Propresenter will follow along as well if that's what you're doing. Hope that really helps. Any questions, reach out to us, and it's been great to guide you through this. God bless and take care.